Father God, we come to you today and we think of the tragic news around our country. We know as believers you will not place more on us than we can handle, and yet, Lord, we have to come to you to ask for the strength to bear up to the losses of people in Las Vegas, those that are injured and wounded. We ask that you heal and that you help their families. Father, we ask that you forgive each of us when we fall short of the plan you have for us. And Father, as we have gone through the rains here, we're thankful for those, and even with the amount we had, we didn't have serious flooding, and we thank you for that. We ask you to reach out to the people of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and South Texas, and that you continue to help and minister to them. Father God, we ask that you guide us as we deliberate and carry on in your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, join me in the flag pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take seats, please. We do have a presentation this morning. I'd ask Mr. Dale Dunlap, who is our district extension agent from Texas Agricultural Extension Service. Dale, would you introduce our new team member?
If you want to stand. Judge, commissioners, we have with you, or with us today, Miss Amy Griffin. Amy comes to us from Van Vleck, Texas, down on the coast is where she grew up. She was very active in the 4-H program, FFA, band, National Honor Society, well-rounded young lady. Got a bachelor's degree at Sam Houston State University in Family and Consumer Science, and then went on and got a master's degree from New England University in educational leadership. She has been an extension agent with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service for about 2 years. She served in Occotree County, which is up in the northeastern panhandle, up at Perryton. Did a wonderful job there, and then she transferred and took a job in Kansas as the Family Consumer Science Agent in Garden City, Kansas, and that is, what county is that?
Finney County.
Finney County, I couldn't remember. So she's got about 3 years worth of experience, and when she went to Garden City, she was doing mostly adult programming, and she has that interest and missed the youth, and we thought this might be a great opportunity for her to come back to Texas, be closer to family, to work with the youth here in Wichita County. She's got a diverse background in family and consumer science and a lot of youth development under her belt. Does a great job of managing volunteers and 4-H members, understands all of our county and district and state contests, and so she has a good background in 4-H, and we just think she would be a really good fit to be the county extension agent in 4-H here in Wichita County. And at this time I'd like to present you with Amy Griffin. And as far as the contribution, I believe the contribution for the county is $12,480 in salary, and then travel as budgeted. I believe that is $3,750 in county travel, and then $8,000 shared with David Graff, the ag agent. So at this time, we have Amy for you. Any questions y'all might have for her?
Amy, we're just glad to have you. Be part of that team. One of the things you will need to do is to talk to the benefits people, because you do get a county paycheck. So you're going to need part of that with the HR office downstairs on the first floor, and then also the auditor's office over in your building. They're on the third floor from your offices. So see them. I know you're not going to start until the 23rd, I believe.
The 23rd, yes.
Okay. But we need to get that done, set up, because we have to have that documentation. Since we've announced your employment today, we need to get at least your I-9 done and those things, and have that by the first day you're actually here. And the sooner you get all that done, the better.
Okay.
Okay? Well, we're looking forward to it. I think that gosh, coming with that much experience and having been a product of those programs even adds to that. So, And I can tell by David's smile, we're going to put some years, take some years off of him that we've added on him, trying to handle 3 or 4 hats at one time. And you also have some background in family consumer science, I think. So.
Yes, I do. I got my bachelor's in family and consumer science and then my master's in educational leadership, and I'm currently working on my doctorate in training and development.
Who's that affiliated with? Your doctoral
My
program?
doctorate, it'll be North Central University in California.
Okay.
Amy, tell us about your livestock background.
My livestock background, I showed goats in my county, and we also at my house we raised bottle caps. So we would raise the bull caps from we'd go to Stephenville and raise crossbred bull caps with that, and then my brother, I helped him with his chickens. He did chickens throughout high school and everything like that. So I've done a little bit of all of that. My house back home, I guess my ranch, I would say, was like the land of misfit animals. If somebody didn't want one, we would always raise them. So we would always get the phone call that, there's a calf that we're not going to keep. You have an hour to come pick it up, or, we're going to send it somewhere else. So we would always bottle feed those animals, and then we also helped with bucket calves for our show, because our show started bucket calves whenever I was in high school, so we would help the other children with those. And I bottle fed a lot of different animals, so hogs that came to our house at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, goats and stuff like that. But I did raise show goats for the fair.
Cool. So your experience is more nurturing abandoned animals. What about winning shows?
My senior year, I got first blue with my goat, but goats were new whenever I first started, as far as that goes. So.
Well, I hope you become well versed in lambs, goats, turkeys, chickens, rabbits, steers, heifers, the whole 9 yards, because that's in your lap now.
Yes.
And we expect to win.
I will do my best.
Okay.
We do have 2 state banners over here now.
Yes, I did see those, and the last county that I was in was very big in robotics, and so I kind of understand that competition and worked a lot with them. They did the first Lego League out of Liberal for 3 years, and they won that competition every year, and then was even asked to go to the international competition in Branson, Missouri. And so my 4-H group there was able to move on to an international competition where they competed against 23 different countries for a robotics competition.
Wow.
That's kind of cool.
And then I have worked with in Occoquan County, we took children to state for food challenge, educational presentations, and then Beef Quiz Bowl was on the ag side. But the children that I had with the educational presentations got 8th and higher at state with their educational presentations whenever I took them down there. So.
That's good.
And Amy, you're aware of we have a strong 4-H association here. Did David or anyone mention that, or associate, a lot of help for agents, and we're fortunate to have some money in the bank, and so that's.
Yes, I actually, before I even interviewed for this position, I came up and talked to David about the 4-H position. I was headed back, because my family's from the Gulf Coast, so they were affected by Hurricane Harvey. So I was coming back from that and stopped in and said, hey, I applied for this position, can you tell me about your county? And so David did give me a rundown of everything in the county and about the volunteers and everything like that. So I was definitely excited whenever I talked to him about all the help and the just assets that this county has with the 4-H program.
Great.
That's good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. You'll have lots of good volunteers and some pretty sharp kids to work with, so we're pretty proud of the program, so it'll be great.
I'm definitely excited to get in and get running, so.
Very good.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all for doing such a good job of getting something done.
David, try not to run this one off.
All right. I ask court to take action on the consent agenda, please.
Yes, Judge, I'd make a motion on the consent agenda, but I do have questions on 4 items.
All right, sir.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner, which items, numbers?
2, 4, 7, and 9. On item 2, I know it's an item that we had dealt with previously, but one thing that I'd like to see us do in the future, if we could denote this action taken at when this was done. I'm assuming these come back to us I'm a little unclear as to, are we now just making the proper motion? I know this bill has not been paid, but I would like it dated so that we know when the previous item was addressed. It appears that it's just back on the agenda to now be accepted or corrected, but I think it's been 3 months ago or so.
It was on June the 5th. If you look at your backup in the back there, Commissioner Watts, the last page at the top, you know, June the 5th, and it shows the motion made by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve $2,875.
Well, so what is happening here, Judge?
You'd have to ask Commissioner Harvey, it's his.
No, I'm saying,
okay,
why is it back on the agenda?
Because the price is different than what was approved.
It's more,
Well, in
Yeah,
my
it is.
math book, it is. 2,700 versus 3,800.
Yeah, we approved 2785.
that's the part that's throwing me. I didn't know why it's back on the agenda.
Because it went over the amount that was approved in the court order.
Okay.
I'd like to table this so I can review that invoice to see why.
Did it not
I probably
include,
know why, I just forgot. But I
did it
will-
not include the tear out, Lee?
Wait a minute, here it is on the back, I found it.
Yeah. I wonder if the original bid did not. Find it.
I need to find the original bid. Let's just table this,
Yeah,
because it doesn't
That looks
show.
like an additional 3,800.
Well, it's not. I mean, we just took the door down and put the new one in, but we raised the door so that we could get our equipment in. That's the whole reason we did it.
How do you miss that in the original bid?
No, it wasn't the original bid. What I'm saying is I need to find the original bid and see what is different. 'Cause it definitely said 2875.
But I guess my point is that if it was styled a little different on here, we would be aware of that, because I just didn't realize
It's going to include the original order.
but it's like it's taking back and making it retroactive when in fact that's not what we did. We approved 2,700 back in June, and then we would approve, if so accepted, the addition in October.
You're amending it.
You're amending it. I mean, I don't know how much clearer you can make than put the previous quarter in unless we put the previous bill in there.
To put a copy of the original court order, but
I was just assuming that it needed to be stated different or explained different, so.
What did we originally approve? 2785?
Yeah. So you're 1,000 over that,
Yeah.
which,
I'm pretty sure it's on my email, the original quote. So let me get it and compare and call them and find out what's the difference.
So it's 1,015 different.
yeah, that's,
No, I meant what's the difference? What is the reason for the difference?
Well, the difference is obvious. The 1,015 on the invoice is the commercial door operator. there's the difference right there.
Yeah.
It's $1,015.
I don't believe that's correct, though. I think it was included in the original
Well,
bid.
okay.
But I'll
The essence
just table
is
this.
We removed it, and you're
Yep.
gonna look at it
Yep,
Good.
and bring it back to the board next week?
yep.
So the 2785 was the door and the install, and then the 1,015 is the opener. And you're thinking that was on the original bid?
Yes,
How
sir.
would you buy a
Okay.
garage door? I mean,
A big door.
yeah, without that already on there. I don't follow that.
Well, they don't have to bend them on there. They've got the manual
The chain,
chain opening deal. That's an option, but
Then,
Well, just,
next question, is
Find
that
out.
already installed?
yeah. Been using it for months. I don't know why the guy is now invoicing us.
Is he just now invoicing us?
Yeah.
Okay.
the invoice
Item-
was 821.
Okay, item 4, what was your question?
Okay, item 4, $1,200. Commissioner Beecham had asked me, we had discussed briefly about Terracon. I wasn't sure, Judge, what Willie and I had spoke to Terracon, or not actually to Terracon, but to the agency from the state giving us the forward wink to move forward with our stuff that's before them, as long as we buy down our note to some extent. I guess this doesn't have anything to do with that. This is just work they would have done on
Yeah.
preparation.
It is, and we will get part of that reimbursed out of that whole deal, those fees. But right now, have they finished the outside engineer review?
No, their state is sending their person
Yeah.
to double check what the issue was, is that our savings were able to be paid for in 19 years. The state requests that those savings be in a 15-year category, and so it would require us to buy down that with about, Willie, 250,000 roughly.
Yeah. That's a better estimate than he'd originally given, and that's still a great deal if you look at that.
It's absolutely a big deal.
It's a 900 and we would buy our savings into 913,000 over that 15-year period.
Yeah.
well, considering that we're on the last leg of that situation over at the Lindeman Building, that's going to have to be addressed. We've nursed it along, and I don't know what the actual number is, Judge, if you heard one on replacing that deal, but it's,
Well, I thought you had an email you sent out once that it was around 300,000.
yeah, I'm thinking not 300, but it's
Okay.
over 100,000 just to do that deal. And then we want to get that included in this thing, so that would be, we got to get it done because we can't go again next spring with what we've got. They're going to patch it up for the next 30 days and we're out of business. pretty
Well,
much.
they should be here any time. Is he not, Willie, coming? They're a
Okay.
mechanical engineer to review our work, so.
We need to get it done, and it'll answer lots of problems, but in fact, that's been one of the things, we've been trying to hold off on some of these projects because the bigger we can make that project, the better the payout's gonna be on it, so
Yes, sir.
hopefully we can get under the wire and make that work.
Okay. Okay, you asked about number 7.
Yes, what was that, Judge? On the Harper Perkins, on the range?
That
Is
was a
it,
balance, I think, of what they had, of what they'd already drawn against. I believe that's the balance of that.
and do we know what that total bill was, Devin? On Harper Perkins for the firing range?
I'm going to say, the number 33,000 is in my mind, but that may have been the previous, this may be running it to 35.
But you're understanding this is the final
I
payment?
think it is. Okay, then you had a question on number 9.
On number 9, I just wanted to report that I had asked George to look at, and he's came up with, Nancy's in the middle of coordinating a webinar for that simple maintenance software that allows us, not just with AC units of different deals, but anything else that needs to go on there. If Sheriff wanted to put his cars on there, or or anything else as far as equipment goes. It can just generate the reports that we request and give you some historic data on a unit number in there, so that when somebody needed access to or information, she's setting up the webinar, so whoever would like to set in on
Now, is that under the Munis system?
No,
We're
it's a completely different, strictly maintenance.
Well, but isn't there a program in the Munis package?
There is a program for work orders in Munis, but I don't know that it specifically regurgitates equipment per se as this would. Now, we're talking about software that doesn't cost very much here, but I don't know that the Munis portion can give you equipment reports that strictly deal with AC or strictly deal with, I don't know. I'm just going to have to
But
dig.
maybe we ought to check that out.
I know it can do work orders. I just don't know that it will sort those into a code of work order. I probably would, but what I liked about this is that you could pull up unit 201 and look at it. You could see cost to date of 201, and you could see history of maintenance on 201, and it
Well,
was.
I think Munis will do that now. They're talking about generally vehicles and things, but I would think as long as you sign a unit number to an air
unit number
conditioner.
and a code number that
Yeah.
would classify it into a category.
Yeah,
So how much does this software cost?
I think it's like $800 for the part, Judge, that this I envision playing was that a vendor should be able to utilize something and keep us from, I don't know that we won't ever body in Munis doing anything particularly, and if you were a designated vendor of us, you could be putting that information in the system through a portal.
They
And
could do
that-
that in Munis also, couldn't they?
Probably could, I just don't know that you want them to exactly. We would have to find out, Lee. You probably could, but it just,
okay. I
this
think we're
is,
kind of
this
getting,
is,
we're getting a little far afield here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the consent agenda? We do have a motion by Commissioner Watson, second by Commissioner Harvey. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, ma'am?
Question. On number, I've been meaning to ask this for a long time, on number 5, the Tyler Technologies, is that the installments we're making on that $4 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
$4
That
million,
was extra
It's part of that
money.
whole package.
Okay.
Is that,
2.5 million, Patty, on the software.
Yeah. I thought it was-
Yeah.
How's that coming in your office? Good?
We haven't had, they haven't, we have dates set to go up there, and every time we have dates set to go up there, they change it.
Oh.
So we haven't been up there.
okay. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 is review and approve the emergency and regular bills for payment.
Judge, I'd make the motion, we pay our emergency and regular bills.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Mahler. Any comments or questions on the bills? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss and review jail maintenance projects and work orders. Lieutenant?
Yes, sir, we have 0 overdue work orders. They completed 41 maintenance repairs last week and the monthly inspections. Questions?
We have nine noted locations that the roof leaked.
Yeah, that was from
From all-
2 weeks ago, yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. So when you asked me if we had any reported, that was the most recent report that I had.
Okay. That was
So-
from 2 weeks ago, but not from the rains last
I
week.
didn't receive any report from last week.
Okay. That was from the heavy
Heavy
rains that
rains, we
happened
didn't
on
have any?
Thursday night.
Yeah, and I don't understand it either, but as far as reports were concerned.
A lot of that has to do with how hard the wind is blowing.
And I don't remember the wind blowing that hard last week. So.
On that Thursday night, it was some pretty good winds that come along with the heavy downpour storm.
We also had a transformer outside on the main line blow, so we lost power out there for a while. The law enforcement was able to get it repaired. And then we had another issue at the jail over the weekend.
This weekend?
Yeah, cameras were going out.
Last night.
Last night.
Yeah.
Probably.
Last night, but I think it's all back.
Yeah.
It's all back.
It's
We're
all
running
back.
now. So.
Not sure what happened on that. Haven't found that out yet.
Yeah, because that's a fairly new system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything. I'm not 100% familiar with all of it. When they said the network was down, so everything from the cameras to phones, internet access, they weren't able to send emails, notifications, couldn't do anything like that. So they were basically on their own for a couple hours.
Did they call IT or somebody to come?
Well, they would have called IT, except they didn't have their personal cell phone numbers for in the evening. IT's already been notified, but it's already back up and running as of about an hour and a half ago. But that means they went from about 2 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. In the dark. They had the lights on, but that's because we got generators.
Our phones didn't work?
From what I understand, they're on the network, so once the network goes out, the phones are out. That's part of the reason why we have a supervisor with cell phones, just in case an emergency happens, they can call somebody.
Brother Jeff, did we get a hybrid system?
I don't know what they have for sure. They may, is some of yours voice over IP, or do you know? Or
That's definitely an IT question.
okay.
Okay. Well, the key to that is you all need those phone numbers and get that from IT, at least for Mr. Crutchfield.
Yeah. But I guess that's, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm about to say
Well,
Okay.
I have a question, Judge. On that note, Andrew, I had spoke with Caterpillar dealer at our school last week.
Okay.
And he was involved in some Houston and Dallas transitions where they have humongous generators, semi-trailer sized generators and down. And he said that he is a part of the team that comes in that do these mock transitions where, they pretend there's a disaster and they come and they hook up and they time themselves in the hookup, and your team and their team coordinate to make the transition to get power on immediately. And I thought something worth investigating. He said within 2 to 4 hours he can have you fully lit, everything lit. But the part that I see holding us back is the actually getting our system hooked into his system, and that's the part they train to do. And I have his card, and it might be worth
I don't know if this
investigating.
is I think I'm following you. We pretty much do the same thing twice a week with our generator.
But
And
your
that's-
generator is only emergency services, right? We would still have to move prisoners if we just relied on your generator.
No, it provides lights,
What
But
about
AC and
AC, the dock cover AC.
Well, that's why we got that big generator, but it puts out 46, 77
it
volts
was
or
a
something.
conversion
It was
issue,
too
I
big.
know.
Conversion issue, yeah.
So we needed a step-down transformer, which we found out was 25,000, yeah?
It was very expensive.
And more than that.
But,
We've
guys,
had issues with power went out, we had no AC going, and that's why we get those big cooling, big fans you put the water hose to, and it cools it down. We've got several of those we put through the jail just to keep it circulated, and generally within 5 or 6, 8 hours, power is restored and got things repaired.
Are you dark in there, Sheriff, or are you lit? Are
It's
you able to
half,
see
it's
everything?
about half.
Okay,
I think we just have emergency lighting.
Yeah, just emergency lighting.
okay.
And, but when the fire goes out like that, we still, the life safety alarms and things they make, they work. Until this week, matter of fact, Friday, Thursday, they went out downtown. Half the downtown jail went out, and there's a part, they figured out that when that little piece of the part goes out, it knocks all of it out. So we had to get it repaired, and so we did have a couple people working overtime, every 15-minute watches to keep walking because the panic brake wasn't working.
But even with our facility and the new one coming up, a tornado take out a lot of power line and the ability to get distribution to you. It might be something to investigate. Apparently others do that.
Yeah, it would behoove us to, as a county, to have something in place for that because
the reason I always worried about it is because of that transformer that belongs to us. It's huge and take forever to get a new one in here to do. But this sounds like, and we saw one, where were we at? And we saw those semi-generators back up to the hotel running.
We were at Austin, but we weren't downtown, we were out
and
by that Brazilian steakhouse, which was really good.
But anyway, it's good to know that there are companies out there that are carrying huge power that respond to that and able to help us.
Well, I would think it would behoove us too to make sure that we plan that in the design of the new facility where it would be easy
plug in.
And for just a few dollars, you could probably have that wired.
No, you don't plug in. You take that generator we've got.
It's a matter of speech, Commissioner, not literally plug in.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. When the lights go out, it automatically comes on.
Yeah.
But we're talking about stepping up to a longer term deal.
Something that could run us for a few weeks if tornado took us out.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, I would think that's something we ought to talk about in the design, is how.
We own the generator.
Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, it might not take much going in to have that plan where you could really do that quickly. And a little planning goes a long way.
Well, that step-down transformer might be still a whole lot cheaper than a whole generator.
Well, it probably would be. Well, is our plans to use that big generator on the new facility? Is that where we're headed?
I would.
And will it run the whole
You bet.
center?
Yeah. You bet it will.
that's something we need definitely in there.
Needs to be incorporated into the plans.
Incorporate that in there.
Absolutely.
The same device that would go on there to support the spray for the 2 years during construction would probably move over readily to the other
I would think so
building.
too.
I think that's one.
Because we'll still have the issue with the size difference anyway, right? The new facility is not going to accommodate
it's not going to accommodate that voltage, but it can be accommodated.
Well, that's a good thought.
Good thought.
Who's going to make that thought go somewhere?
Well, I'm going to give my card to Andrew, and then we can bring it up at the architects meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you start.
Okay. All right. Next item is to discuss, consider, take action, and award bid for asbestos abatement at buyout properties 1613 Wranglers Retreat and 4975 Marion Lane, with payment from general fund contingency with future reimbursement from FEMA or from property settlement. We received 2 bids to do that. Mr. Wall, you had those. You put one, the lower bidder, in here.
Yes, package. It's on Environmental Incorporated in Nashville, Texas. Bid is for a little over $24,000. 7 working days to complete, estimated. The start date, if they get the notice to proceed, 15 days. That's a little bit. This bid is from Green Earth Contracting LLC. $43,400 total. So quite a
Require one.
spread between the 2 bids.
Well, and Judge, this is a over and above reimbursable costs?
It's part of that. We went through this before. That's part of what has to be done. All of that comes back. The FEMA will pay 75% of it. Then
It's just folded into our.
it's folded
property
into,
costs.
but it will come out, the 25% share of that will come out of the homeowner's money.
Okay, okay.
Willie, I'm looking at 24,422 and 40,400. Is that correct? That's quite a variation.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That's quite a range.
And Judge, homeowner doesn't have any say here. I mean, we are eroding their 25% pretty hard on,
Well, but they have to say they want zero.
okay.
They've all agreed to this, all going in, all have known up front that they will have these costs come out of it. Then there is some additional money they can apply for and get that will help them with those costs. It's called the ICC money. And, but that's up to them to apply for that.
In addition to this, there will be a charge from Flint for project management.
Yeah. He will inspect their work and supervise their disposal of it and make sure everything is done correctly.
Well, so I'll make a motion that we move forward with the low bid.
I'll second that, Judge. Yeah, the difference is nearly $16,000. And I was looking, you got a local, bidder there and one that's not, but it's pretty wide.
From Intercon Environmental Incorporated.
Be correct.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller, to accept the low bid from Intercon Environmental Incorporated to perform the asbestos abatement on the 2 homes that are part of the buyout program from the 2015 floods. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is discuss, consider, take action to bid from Santa Rosa Construction in the amount of $435,499 with completion in 120 working days for Harper Perkins Architects Project number 16800.00 Courthouse DA Criminal Civil Division Office renovations. There was only one bid received.
Wonder why that was, Willie, do you know? Santa Rosa is a good group.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a clue except perhaps the others couldn't work it into their schedules. You've got Littleton, Winburn, Trinity Hughes, Cunningham Clark, Anthony Inman, and Mascot Construction all received.
And there were over 20 plus that showed up the day that we walked through everything. So
I'm a little surprised that no one chose to bid except Santa Rosa.
A little bit of it is the fact of the access, the night work that probably causes them a little bit of heartburn, I would assume. It's made easier by some of that. I think Meredith and the sheriff had visited about having some secured access through those doors there to maybe help with that a little bit. But I was hoping for more activity, but I do know that that's a strong group here and nothing wrong with their work at all.
Gosh, that's a lot of money.
That's considerably more money than we talked about.
That's a lot more than I thought.
And let me ask you this, on that note, are we able to negotiate? If we move forward with Santa Rosa Construction, could we sit down with them and say, hey, this in lieu of this, or however that be?
Yes.
Go ahead, Lloyd.
You could, from a legal standpoint, if you award the bid, then you certainly can negotiate after the fact. or you may not want some of the projects to cut cost or whatever it might be. And I will note, it's not only the criminal district attorney's office, it's also the grand jury room.
Right. And the large portion of this cost were those bathroom renovations that happened. There's 60 model rooms and they're getting gutted and changed completely. So the rest of the renovation was fairly simplistic, and because Maureen and Meredith wanted to keep the marble intact and the structure for the most part, we're moving a wall or so inside that area, but nothing severe. It comes in the bathrooms do cost us some money here, but I would like to see us at least try to negotiate with them if they have the interest to do it, and see if we can pull it into something that is workable.
Yeah, I'd have a lot more confidence in it at this kind of a number if we had more than one bid land.
Yeah.
What's our ability to rebid?
You have the
That's a
authority
question
to
for
reject
Matt
all bids.
too.
Well, no, we can reject this bid,
That's too
wait a
high.
while,
It's,
and then go back out for bids.
Well, I just wondered, I mean, what's Matt's take on why we only got one? He's been talking to all these fellows, and I know that the reason we waited till now, because they had told him that would be more advantageous for them to do it this time, and so what happened to
I
it?
don't know.
Could we just table this
Yeah.
action for a little while and
Let's
find
do
out
that.
some more before we just scrap it? Because I really had thought in my mind it wouldn't exceed $300,000 in my mind.
Yeah, this
Well,
is,
because all our estimates were actually below that, but I did talk to a wedding the other night, standing around to another architect in town, and I just said something about that, and he said, you know, that's generally the most expensive jobs you can have, you know, because you're talking about demolition, you're talking about disposal, you're talking about, you know, I told him we wanted it at night. He said, I'm not sure why that adds to it, but everybody uses that as an excuse to add to it.
Sure.
You know, at any rate, you know, we might be able to talk to them, but if you're thinking 300,000, that's a lot of talk.
That's a
To
lot
get
of
it
talk.
down. That's a lot
Well,
of change.
I just didn't know if there was a couple of items that made the big difference, because I think the general area of what we're doing there is not that expensive. I do know that it's the configuration and what we're working around on the bathroom portion there, and of course we're going to make a better area inside so that the jury doesn't have to leave the hallway to have restroom access. They can if they need to, but they don't necessarily have to. But I think it's the outside restrooms that cause us the largest portion of this
Well,
money.
and that's part of your ADA accommodation, because we're exceeding $50,000. And so,
and we're actually shrinking the footprint.
yeah.
I mean, really, which bothered me from
How do you mean?
well, you're going to turn that men's bathroom into a single
Oh, yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's moving forward, but that's what the plans
Yeah.
are.
Well, but you got these two
Another
restrooms
nice
up
one.
here.
I know,
Yeah.
but still,
Well,
that's just me. It just looked
Yeah.
to me like we were backing up, but
But if we could, I would make the motion, we table this and get Matt into these discussions and see what angle may be best advised.
I'll second the motion.
what about you've got a time limit on the bid, so.
Can we
come back to
extend that, or
Well, you can call them and ask them to do that.
would that be okay, Willie? Okay. To give us a little bit of time here, and we'll get Matt quickly involved. I had really expected him to be here for that.
Okay. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Mahler, to ask for an extension on the bid time, meet with Matt English from Harper Perkins and with the contractor to discuss the the price of the project. I think if you all sit down with the contractor, you start talking about changes, I really believe we need to be sure that Ms. Shelton or her representative is involved in with that. That we don't.
Right, Meredith Kennedy.
Okay. But I just want to be sure y'all were included, that all of a sudden we didn't do something. You go, where'd y'all get that idea? Okay.
You know, guys, you gotta put that in perspective. You can buy land, pour a slab, and build a beautiful $250,000 home here in Wichita County. And there is no way in the world that we're gonna have to spend $200,000 on bathrooms. I mean, let's get real. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, do we have to take out, is there something that, I just haven't looked at the makeup of the whole thing, so I didn't realize where it was stacking up. Did you see, Willie, where it was loaded?
No, I asked Glenda to look at it and give her input, but I didn't get a response yet.
Okay. I'd just like some more information.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion
Aye.
carries. Motion carries 4-1.
I'd rather us,
Oh,
I'd rather us do away
reject
with-
all the bids.
reject
Right,
bids
okay,
and
I'm with
start
you. I
over.
understand now.
Okay. Item 5, discuss, consider, take action to accept buy board quote from Caldwell Country Chevrolet in the amount of $40,376 for the 2018 Chevrolet 3500 Silverado diesel crew cab truck with a cab and chassis for Precinct 1, and authorize the auditor to issue a purchase order with the amount, with payment from 221.210.5001. Capital expenses as available with the remaining balance from Department 221 Supply and Operations by transfer. Line is determined. Commissioner Beecham, there was an email this morning. Did you see that about?
No, I do not.
Okay.
This was just the cab and chassis market, didn't include our bed.
No, it's just a cab and chassis. What happened was we took delivery of a purchase from last year, this year, and had to pay for it. This was actually the vehicle that was scheduled to be purchased this year on 2017. What I'm doing is buying the cab and chassis on 17 and outfitting it in 18.
Okay.
And
What
we'll
is,
make the money work.
what does it cost to outfit it?
It'll be about an additional $10,000 to put it with the tanks and everything we'll put on it.
Is that a flatbed or a dump bed?
This will be a flatbed.
Well, okay. Getting that from buy board, so we're all right there. Did you happen to look at that class we had last week
Yes.
that said check those buy
Check
boards?
those.
Dang right.
But now, I did, on his number here is good, very good number on a 1-ton pickup Silverado, $39,500. That's pretty good.
It's not a Ford.
Well, no, but it's a 4-wheel drive, double cab. That's
But now, does
pretty
it
good.
come with that Velcro cover?
Uh,
That black deal they wrap all around, you can't tell
Oh,
it's a
yeah,
Chevrolet?
yeah.
Well, you're not doing it right.
And it doesn't have the aluminum bed, it doesn't have any bed on it.
Like a rock.
Okay,
So is that your motion? Is that what you said?
But he's sitting on the money for this.
Yeah, I'm
in his
about
budget.
1466 short in capital, but I'll move that from operations, which I have enough. But that'll allow us to go ahead and make that purchase in this year,
The
which
skid
was
steer
originally
too?
scheduled, no, not the skid steer.
No.
But it's budget, it's budgeted.
It was,
Yeah.
this was originally scheduled for purchase this
Yeah.
year, but the money didn't work, so I held it to this late.
I did
So-
look at the amount of money that Precinct 1 has remaining for the year in 210 budget, and it was about $290,000, so it's sufficient to cover this purchase.
Mark, I would go ahead and rig it if I had the money to do it, instead of just sitting on that chassis and letting the rats get in the motor.
Well, it'll be more expensive next year.
Well, it sure
I
will.
mean, it just
It'll go
will be.
up in
Yeah.
December.
Just transfer some money.
Well, I just transfer some money
Yeah.
then, so we could make I'd make the motion that we purchased this from Caldwell County for $40,376 and an additional $10,000 on top of that to outfit as needed.
Second.
$14,000.
Well,
Oh, give me some room, okay,
Time to
yeah.
get lights. time
All
to
right,
get-
well, additional $14,000
Because
to outfit as
You
needed.
think about the tanks, the lights, the bed, I mean, just,
Well, we just did one, and I wished I had that sheet here, and I can tell you exactly what it
Yeah.
costs. Yeah, and it's a really nice, very functional,
Okay.
very
you
functional.
know, just breathing room. You don't have to spend it all.
All
Is
right,
that,
good idea.
that boy out there at Texoma, he's
Yeah.
where we,
Did a good job on it. Did it quick. I mean, in a few days, they had it ready.
Okay, so the item as stated, but added to it is $14,000 for bed and outfitting.
Correct.
That's correct. My second reflect that, Judge.
Okay. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, discuss and consider take action to allow training sergeant and one deputy to spend one additional night after training is completed and Corpus Christi training is scheduled on October 19th at noon. Due to the distance, we are requesting that 2 employees be allowed to spend one additional night to be paid from T-code funds.
You know, it doesn't come out of our pocket, but I'm gonna tell you, all of us commissioners just went to a week-long school in Corpus Christi. And when we got up that morning, we checked out of our motel and we went to class. And when we got out of class at noon, we didn't even eat lunch there. We just got on the road. We was home by 8:30. Now, we did eat an hour or so after we were on the road, but I couldn't imagine grown men wanting to stay away from their families another night. We certainly wouldn't, and we just come on home. Is there another reason that they might want to stay down, family or something like that, or?
Oh, just the drive itself.
I drove all the way myself, down and back. I think it's no problem. Of course, that's me.
Everybody's different. There's other people that have other needs that have to stop.
What time's the class?
Well, I had a baller in there. We had to stop every 10 minutes so he could use the restroom.
Yeah.
Older black.
Class is over at noon time, so by the time you get out of class, it's, I don't know whether it's their luggage is already packed up, waiting. Some hotels let you wait, till 1 o'clock, to get your stuff out of the classroom. It's just the fact that it's the length of the drive it's going to take to get back. That's the main thing. We've got the money there to pay for it. Just another sightseeing tour going on, with deep sea fishing.
There ain't a whole lot to see there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's
Ain't there some
a
good
old
oysters?
drive to get to it.
That's enough of that baller.
He can dish it out, Judge, but he can't take it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna hurt him bad here in just a minute. Hang on.
Let that go. Snot balls they were eating in front of me. I couldn't hardly eat my lunch.
So I'll stop at Buc-ee's and get those.
It's called fresh oysters is what
Yeah.
that's called.
Ugh.
Okay. Someone gonna take action on this?
oh, I'll make the motion, we move forward with it.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. 7 is discuss and consider take action to transfer up $30,000 from 10409.4902 General Fund Contingencies Department for 511 County Jail Facilities to fully fund projected expenses for the remainder of 2017. Trying to see if you had some other note on here.
511 is courthouse security?
No,
What is
no,
this?
county jail facilities, that's the maintenance side, that's utilities, all those things have to do with the building and not personnel.
All right, explain that again to me, please.
Okay. Somebody else get ready?
It's the maintenance side of,
It's maintenance, it means that the air conditioner repairs, all those other kind of things have run over what was budgeted for that, and we're going to transfer $30,000 from general fund contingency to cover in the expenses that have run over. There's not enough other money to shift in that because utilities are based on the previous year consumption, so it simply moves in there that those maintenance items have cost more than that.
And they're coming out of 409?
Yes, sir, that's general fund contingency. I mean, that's what we do any of that kind of stuff.
And, I mean, we're talking about, we consumed, I guess, Willie, is this not correct? We exceeded our $62,000 maintenance
Yes, sir.
portion. And so we're talking about adding another 30.
So it's not utilities, it's
No,
maintenance.
it's maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
And so,
Plumbing
I mean,
parts.
we've not spent a lot of money per se on the overall upkeep. We budgeted short and
And we've been more aggressive on maintenance than we've been in the
that's
past,
right,
without
all
a
of
doubt.
that
We talk about it
combined.
every
So,
week.
I mean, even if Andrew spends the remaining of this transfer in there, we're still less than 100,000 for the year in overall maintenance for the facility, and I think we're doing very well because we've been very proactive in getting everything fixed immediately.
Motion to approve, Judge.
Second.
Yeah, you don't have to be very aggressive on maintenance, spend $30,000 in this day and time.
Just on air conditioning.
Absolutely. I've got one laying on my desk right now that's gonna tickle that.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Muller, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the item as stated. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 8 is discussing consider take action to approve number 487-484-001 from Office Depot for a coffee maker in the amount of $53.99 from the CDA's supplies budget to be used during trials for victims and witnesses.
Judge, I have a comment on this. It set me on fire, I think, when I read this activity, and I want to explain why. Before we left Monday, this court approved $47,000 worth of overtime in payroll. $47,000 worth of overtime. And without a shot fired or a question asked. There was some statements that we made about follow-up, but we had no information to lean on. And for a person that has the ability to put someone away for life, to be questioned about a $53 purchase of a coffee maker blows my mind. And if we could, for 100 years, not watch this, because it's not fair to Devon to have to keep up with it. It's not fair to the department to have to concern themselves with it. And why it would even be an item of question, and I've since learned that there's some other items similar in question, but my point is 100 years of this type of stuff unwatched would not equal half of what we approved last week in overtime payroll without any answers being given to why individuals that are in 40-hour work jobs have a half an hour overtime or 3/4 of an hour overtime. It's eating us and it's robbing us of dollars, which personally affect all of our insurance plans and everything else. So my time is worth more, and I just want to be clear about that than to discuss these kind of things that are absolutely wild to me, because it's not fair to the auditor's office, it's not fair to the department.
Well, the auditor's working off of the general policy the commissioners, of course, have. And part of the idea behind this, that single thing in its own, but at what point do you say, do we buy a coffee pot for every department? And number one, I don't know why it was a $53 coffee pot. You can get them almost anywhere else for quite a bit less than that. So there must have been something.
I thought that was a cheap price, actually.
No, you haven't bought a coffee pot in a while. But I'm just telling you. But
Maybe carrot.
Does that mean the coffee? Does that mean donuts later? Where does that end when we start doing that kind of thing?
When
Do
we
you want me
build,
to answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I certainly will. How many cups of coffee do you want me to limit our witnesses, our victims' parents? As a matter of fact, Lauren Landavazo's mother, I didn't even have a cup of coffee for her when she asked for it after the last pretrial hearing, Judge. I mean, I should be able to have coffee during business hours available for a police officer that has stayed up all night long in a 12-hour shift and comes to get prepared for trial to testify. I should have a cup of coffee for the Cook's Children's doctors that travel to Wichita County at no expense to this county. They eat it, and then all they want is a cup of coffee, Judge. And you know who's been paying for it in the past? Myself and my employees. They pay for the coffee, they pay for the sugar, they pay for the creamer. All I was asking for was a
You know, that's the same thing as done here.
We paid also for all of our bottled water that all of our witnesses use. That's 6,000 cases a year, Judge. 6,000 cases a year that people have to be prepped. It doesn't mean we have trials. They have to be prepped and ready to go. And it's 24 hours that law enforcement and ER nurses and ER doctors, they work long shifts and they travel here. A cup of coffee, really? And that's
No.
my 2 cents. And where do we draw the line? Did I ask for donuts? Did I ask for
Not
anything
yet.
else?
But somebody else will, Maureen. It's, okay,
Can I
so,
explain it to you like I have? I mean, this is not right. I personally pay for the bottled water for our witnesses and our victims' families and all of those. I finally drew the line.
Well, and Commissioner Beecham had told me about his need for a refrigerator in indigent health, and it met with opposition, and I'm like, that's our responsibility to provide.
no, it's not.
That, well, who paid for the ice machine in the employee's break room?
We
Did
did
all
that
of us
because
employees
it's
do
available
that?
to all employees, yes.
Well, I mean, employees are an employee, whether it's all or it's some.
well, this isn't even for employees, this is for witnesses and.
Well, certainly, I mean.
So this shouldn't even be an issue. This shouldn't even be an issue. So.
But even
still.
for employees, I still have Judge, the icebox in our room, where did it come from?
We paid for that.
Commissioners paid
Yeah.
for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when I leave, do I get to take a quarter of it with
Well,
me?
you didn't pay for it.
Well, I know, but.
But we didn't give anything to Bill and Pat.
No, we
When
didn't.
we build the new LEC and the break room in the LEC, are the deputies gonna be required
How's that
to
gonna
pay for
work? I mean,
everything?
I just
I'm
never
still
even.
gonna have the best ice maker in there.
Yeah, well, that's already purchased, so.
But the policy should be that we have an eagle eye on overtime that's coming up that are insignificant to the course of doing business, and this is
Well,
just
it all begins
transitional.
with pennies, Commissioner. But if, the thing is, you have had a policy. If you want to change the policy, then tell the auditor's office you want to change it. But
This is a tradition, not a policy. This is not a policy in any personnel manual
Okay.
or anything. It's just.
This is not for personnel use, so I would make the motion that we go ahead and pay this. It's not for personnel use at all. It's for witnesses.
My point is not that, Mark.
Should we be on that?
My point was not to approve it. My point is why are we even dealing with it to begin with?
Yeah.
Amen.
because what you have done in the past, by tradition, by history or whatever, has said that kind of thing needs to be approved by Commissioners Court.
It is policy, and that's why it got sent. That's what the
Yeah.
auditor does.
And if you tell the auditor different, God, they'd rather not have to have
Well,
someone.
yeah, that's
I
my
guarantee
point
you.
too. It's a hassle for them because I'd a lot rather them spend their time on getting some questions for us to review on this overtime than I had worrying about.
The auditor doesn't create the overtime. Ask the departments, you get that overtime list.
Well, I know.
I've
but
been waiting to
she's
look at it. We've got three
the
of those.
master information, and it has to initiate there because she's holding all of the information we need to be made
Okay.
aware of.
I don't know about you, but I've kept the three of those I've got, and I'll add the fourth one to it. I wanted to see how a period of those went, then to say, okay, why is this happening when we've got administrative? I can
I can tell
certainly
you
follow.
why it's happening, Judge.
Did I finish?
It was, yes,
I
go
can
ahead.
certainly follow why sometimes we'll have deputies have overtime. I can follow why we have jailers, but I don't understand why we have administrative people have overtime.
No, not at all. And that's the reason you have that expense there is because you have people that are going unchecked that have 3/4 of an hour of overtime that should have taken off 3/4 of an hour early one day and be paid 40 hours, but instead we're paying them time and a half. And that should be the policy that needs to be implemented. And if you're going to have a department that's going to have 7-8 hours worth of total overtime amongst 10 employees, have that person in here to explain why that needed to happen. And I'm telling you, it'll stop instantly because nobody's looking.
You get those, you have the
reason.
opportunity to create that item and ask that department to come in and do it.
Yeah, but it's after the fact, Judge, is what I'm saying is we approved this payroll this week and we had no ability to say, well, hey, this department's got 10 hours worth of
Okay,
overtime.
but that's because the Commissioners Court policy adopted in 2010 said we're not having that build up and accumulate. We're paying it. If you want to change that,
Judge, there's nothing to change. I just want it to be tended. There's a responsibility of department heads.
the only way you're going to get that tended is you pick out those departments and say, we'd like you here next Monday to explain why we paid this overtime on the last payroll. That's how you make that.
The Wednesday payroll meeting.
You really kind of did it to
Wednesday payroll
yourself,
meeting.
Jeff, because we pay by exception in this county. And when you put in that time clock, all that overtime came in a certain department. And when you punch in a clock, that time to be paid is extrapolated by the person doing payroll now simply through the time clock process.
I understand,
And
Bob.
they're not going back and asking, how come you did this? People came in, they shoved that thing in, they walked out, they shoved it in. Probably weren't intending to get 30 seconds of overtime, but the clock did it to you.
Yes, but what I'm saying is happening, Bob, is the supervisor,
The
which I
supervisor doesn't have
expect.
time to go in and the
Oh,
time clock is pulled
That's
right
his
off.
job or her job, Bob. And I expected at my place of employment where my employees put a time clock, but if I'm paying Sally for 40 hours and she happens to be an hour over, guess what happens on Friday? She's off at 4 instead of 5.
I'm not trying to debate you here, but I'm just telling you, the department head you're talking about is just like you talking about a $50 coffee maker. He hasn't got time to be going in there and they.
If somebody
There's
doesn't,
some
Bob,
payroll deal, if you want to.
if somebody doesn't manage it,
Individual and say, were you intending overtime here?
If
They're gonna say,
somebody-
no, we weren't.
if somebody doesn't manage it, you end up with $47,000 worth of overtime.
Commissioner Beecham called, we are getting astray there, but, okay. Do we have a second? Commissioner Beecham made a motion to pay the item. as-
Second.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Down to public comments.
I tell you, the people of Wichita County need to know what a great building engineer group we have here led by Buddy Yo. This is an old building. You can imagine, just like you said, Lee, on buildings, you know, by the time you get a 60, 70-year-old building with plumbing, I mean, that's a full-time job right there, much less the walls and this ground's constantly moving. One of his guys, all those guys are great. But one of his guys had serious surgery this past week, and Dan Ingram has been a great friend of mine, and I just want the people of Wichita County to lift him and his family in prayer, because I just want him, if he sees this deal, I want him to know that the county appreciated him down through these years, and by golly, our heart goes out to him and his family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's in fair spirits. I was out there Saturday for a while with him and all. But
And he did put a lot of overtime in and probably never got a dime for it.
anyone else?
Judge, I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
And this is nothing personal against Maureen. Me and Maureen have been friends a long time. And I certainly applaud any department head who can do anything for the department on any scale. That's not far from perfect science. But what I'm trying to figure out to some degree is, my office remodel ends up being like the little bitty movie credits down there at the end of the movie, and I've been watching the movie for a long time. And it's kind of like, you kind of go out there and dangle a carrot in front of little Tommy, and little Tommy will go away for a while. I think me and Clay were given a project number here probably 2 years ago. I want Maureen to get hers. If David needs something, that's one thing I hardly ever do is get off in somebody else's sandbox. And I'm not offering Maureen's today. There's no doubt that they're office space, they're at a premium. But what I'm trying to figure out the lay of the land is how far off or how many times I'm going to be told I'm going to get remodeled. When y'all know, and that's what really rubs me the wrong way, y'all know that annex first floor is worn smooth out. You know it. I don't know whether I need to get a Texas Open Records Act and pull work order request on my courthouse versus work order request on the annex, you know, and try to fight this on a larger scale. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not in a real good frame of mind, and I'm being very brutally honest with you. Y'all know that is worn out over there. I asked for 2 glass doors to be put in my office the first 2 weeks I was in office, so I could look into that lobby for a safety issue. I didn't care where they came from, the holiday flea market, where you got them down here for Habitat for Humanity.
Don't you have a window?
Yes, I've got a window.
Is it open?
And, you know, Judge, I don't want to go down that road.
Okay.
Here's the deal. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just do a Texas Open Records request and do the amount of work orders done on the courthouse versus the annex. Then I'll just play that. But I'm telling you, y'all know that annex over there is worn out, just like David's jail was from the inside out. Y'all know that. You know, David told me, David, you jump in here and stop me if I'm wrong. David told me his 3rd term. David told me when he took office, he tried to go there and do some painting and refinish some doors. They told David then they're going to get a remodel. This kick the can down the road mentality is killing us. It has killed us on a jail project. David or anybody else will tell you what that jail would cost the taxpayers. Wichita Falls has been built 10 years ago. I'm not asking for a $40 million remodel. I'm just saying, when in the world is somebody going to come over there and actually do what they say they're going to do, and don't come over there and put down a half a gallon of paint and hang up some mini blinds and say, Tommy, that's your remodel. Those floors are worn out, that lobby's dirty, the cove mode in that building, last time they put tile down, which there's 27 different colors of tile, because we just keep putting a Band-Aid on a bleeding wound. The cove mode around that whole bottom floor has not been put down. I've been in office 5 years. I don't know how long that's been like that. What I'm trying to say is if I take a camera and go through my annex and photograph all what I got, will I come over to this main courthouse and find the same set of circumstances?
Nope.
Y'all know the answer to that. Y'all know the answer to that. That is a high volume building. You know, and everybody says this is the gateway to county government. I don't have no argument with that. I think it's wonderful. We got nice chambers and everything to get into. But there is more retail public walking into that branch of county government over there for the amount of services we have in that building every day, just as much or more than over here in this courthouse. I just don't know why I keep getting pushed a little further down the food trough. That's where I'm at. I want more. She needs it. David needs a new jail. But I'm telling you, at some point in time, we've got to step up and do what we need to do. And I'm not saying run out here and throw the baby out the window with the bathwater. I told y'all during budget hearing, Judge, I'm not looking for a $4.2 million remodel. But that place needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be brought up to date. That was the Beco building, and some of us got a few birthdays on a resume around here. Those are the same colors. The only thing I'm lacking over there right now is some of the big old IBM typewriters that we typed on back in Reagan Junior High, and me in a polyester suit with some platform shoes, and we could dress to match that office over there.
Leisure suit.
Leisure suits.
Well,
I've got a few of them, Lee. I'm waiting on them to come back. They might come back. But I'm just saying, y'all know that building over there needs something done.
No, I don't think anybody's in disagreement with that. If I remember right in our budget discussions, that was the second priority after the civil suite was to start that remodel in there. So it is on the agenda. We haven't thought about it.
You actually,
it is a high priority for me.
Patty is quietly waited, but she knows that so much change is going to happen with the sheriff's office and the jail and what pulled in here. We are needing desperately out of the closets in the district attorney's office. And so we anticipate that project to not be long, nor your project actually in about the same time frame. Patty, unfortunately, is buying time till we see what kind of maneuverability we have and maybe allow her office either some different area or more space, that because when the sheriff pulls out, it'll allow some rearrangement to happen here. So, and maybe give us the ability to make a courtroom that we can start walking through those after Patty's. But you are on the top of the list. I just didn't want to have to spend as much money as what we're perceiving at the, because really we thought for about $500,000 we could do both projects. And
Tommy, the discussion was, when we talked about this in one of our budget hearings, is that we thought that the civil division remodel, upgrade, whatever you want to call it, actually be a relocation to a certain extent.
Well, you're adding an attorney.
Yeah, and your remodel was the two projects that we thought we could successfully manage during this jail construction. Doing that jail construction is going to be a major undertaking for everybody. It's going to be a lot more work for everybody than what we thought, but we thought those were the two projects we could probably manage the best while that other's going on. And that's why it was scheduled that way, and it is on the list, and it does need to be done. Nobody's arguing that. We've been over there, we've looked at it, we've measured, we've scratched our head. There's some areas over there I'm still not exactly sure what we're going to do to remedy them, because it's hard to go around some of those pillars and stuff, but it'll be done, and yeah, it is in the planning.
But the scope of that changed when you came in and talked about you were really interested in painting, floor treatment, and you're not looking at shifting space or anything.
No, it is not complicated.
Here, I'm trying to keep it as simple, because I'm going to tell you right now, to try to reconfigure. If y'all ever pulled in them ceiling panels over at the annex and looked up in that ceiling, there's only 427,000 miles of IT wire. There's
well, there's still going to be when we finish.
You can't go down that road, Judge. I mean, but the thing is, my deal is, guys, is every year, Tommy, you're on the list. Tommy, you're on the agenda. Tommy, we gave you a number. And that's my deal. I'm waiting to see somebody show up in Freeman Square and a nail apron. That's where I'm at.
Well, now, okay. I don't know if you're going to see that, but somebody with paintbrush and carpet tools, I think that's what we talked about. Are we talking about any remodeling and changing the walls?
My countertops over there, the
okay.
clean on, my countertops are held.
Okay.
No, his is, Tommy's is all a facelift.
Okay.
It's just a major facelift, because here's the deal. There's 116,000 renewals and 36,000 pieces of tile work, and I can take the mail in off that, the internet off of it, but I'm telling you, it's worn out. It's nothing any more than a counter at a high volume restaurant. The counters are worn out. But as far as going in and doing a lot of significant structural type stuff, Judge, me and you're on the same sheet on that.
Okay, I didn't want to underestimate what you wanted.
But here we've got to understand what's happened to us here. I really thought we'd have 6 guys show up that want to work for this kind of money, and one comes in, and they're not even from here. And so we sure got to get to the bottom, because we figured we'd get this started and can move over and check the scope of your workout. But anyway, we've got to.
Into Commissioner Watts. You probably don't know this either. This actually was supposed to start in May, and then the architect said they couldn't get anybody to bid on it, and I don't know if it was because of the hot weather of the summer or whatever. So it was delayed even to get the bids again until
correct.
September, October. And then now, because of the cost of it, they're wanting to delay it again to see if they can negotiate something down from that. And so it delays it even further, so they can't even get to yours. And I think that's the frustration of everybody.
It might be we change and get to his. The problem was there weren't any contractors available. It appears there's still not any contractors available. If there was only one bid out of about 20 of them looking at it, they just Yeah.
This is gonna be a little bit different scope. We're not putting up any walls unless we remodel the front entrance by the elevator, so,
Which is terrible.
which is awful.
That's awful.
It's worn out, Lee.
Well, it's ill-designed is what it is.
I don't
That's the
think we have
problem.
any argument at all about that, so.
I'm not so concerned about the wore-out part, it's the ill design of the entrance of that deal, and
I
that's,
don't know how you change it.
and I don't know how you change it. We've looked and measured and drawn and thought and stuff.
Sheriff?
In 2009, after I got first in office, and we got the paint downstairs at the sheriff's office, utilizing inmate labor. You know, we all know what they did with the doors, the whole building now, but the county paid for the materials, the paint, and inmates hit it, rebuilt walls, did everything in the world. I visited with the previous tax assessor at that time, and the district and county clerk, and asked them, told them what we'd do. We'd do it, we'd do it on a weekend, we'd make it, we'd move all the cabinets, whatever we need to do. We got inmate labor to do it, people to watch them do it on a weekend without impeding regular business hours. All three of those elected officials told me within a matter of a month that one of the commissioners they had reported to refused it, said they had no money to do any of that kind of work. It's not going to happen. And I can tell you that Tommy's office over there, I don't see how they have the duct tape on the carpet to keep employees from tripping over it.
They do have duct tape on the carpet.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Back then it was horrible. It was ripped apart.
And that's in full view of the public.
Well, that convention center last week had duct tape on the car.
It dang sure did, didn't it?
But that's something I hope everybody understands also, these inmate work crew guys, from any project to paint, I mean, you can save money cutting a contractor. I mean, we can get the sprayers and do the whole.
Well, I don't know who turned down the offer as far as the materials, but I don't know of anybody on this court that did, but.
No, it's in 2009.
Yeah.
Might have been a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, but I don't.
It was after Barry, when me, you, and the former precinct 1 commissioner went to the tour of the annex building, and we couldn't believe how a fire trap it was because of all the storage and paper storage and locks that would lock you in the fire escape, on the interior of the fire escape, and it was a nightmare.
And they've done the district attorney's office, painted it a couple of times. And furniture, they've redone some of the furniture in the district attorney's office to save money. And they've been a great asset to us as far as the inmate labor.
It's so easy to utilize these guys, any project.
Got a floor tile guy? That's what we're really needing bad.
We've had four guys. We've had 4 guys.
The guys that put the floor into the training facility out there did a great job.
Hey, we got some talented guys.
They did a great job.
They know what they're doing.
You feed them anything in jailhouse food, they'll be there all day.
Pick out your floor tile.
Back to Maureen's deal, because I'm all for Maureen's coffee pot and then some. I've run into situations before in the sheriff's office where we can't even buy water, a $3.98 thing of water to take out to our deputies who are searching for an elderly man who got away from the nursing home, or we've looked for escapees before, and we can't buy cases of waters to take out to our deputies in 105 degrees.
Who told you that?
It's to some extent.
It's on that, it's the policy. And so I want to know what we need to do that we could, like $53 as a taxpayer. And first of all, I know exactly where Maureen is coming from, because I've been in those situations where we've had people down there in our sheriff's office that are people waiting to go up to Maureen's office, or different people, agencies from Texas Rangers to wherever, and they're like, do y'all have a bottle of water or whatever? And I keep it in my office for that reason, but I just think it's horrible when we can't take water out to our deputies who are working something like that, and it has to be relied on for us to pay for ourselves.
No, I thought Lee Burgoyne had water for.
What has happened on big things, we'll just go and use the county credit card, buy 4 cases of water, and we wreak havoc after it sometimes. But
why would you wreak havoc?
We have it
That's my point. And I'm not blaming anybody. I think it goes back to the policy that Woody is talking about. I think it's time that we revamp some of of those policies,
Well,
they're
well,
older.
Next year, put a line item on the budget for water, for
Well,
usage
that's
like
what,
that.
that was my next question, is if I can put, I mean,
One of the-
sometimes we need Band-Aids, and that's questioned, or whatever.
There's medical
There's-
supplies.
You should have
in the
a first
library.
aid kit.
Work that we have,
We do.
and I know where my husband owns a business, I know what things happen. And since I've come to work for David, there's the most bizarre things come up we need and to have to get and do. That's questioned, but I think it's time that we look at some of these antiquated policies that we have, that when David calls me and says, Jill, we're out here on manhunt and we need some water brought out here, it should
be a
paid
no
for.
brainer.
It should not.
But you
it
write
should
that on
not
that
be
ticket,
me
Jill.
go around
I
the
don't-
office saying, take it to the water to the deputies.
No.
One of the also things down in the basement, and I know this office is going down there, it's kind of like freedom at last, but there used to be a water fountain downstairs, and it's actually in my office there, the front office there on the right. It's no longer there, and they took that out whenever that was emergency management suite. They extended that out to the hallway where it is now, and there's not a water fountain nowhere down there, and
That was the first thing I asked for when we did the jail plans. I said, can you put us a water fountain here for when we bring people through from different agencies or whatever?
that was discussed.
We gotta have something like that, but I just think it's time that little things like her coffee pot or my water or whatever, I mean,
One of the
I'm a
things Jill's talking
taxpayer.
about
I
also.
own land, a business, and everything else, and as a taxpayer, I'm the first and foremost, David can tell you this, and I'm not tooting my own horn. I'll be happy to get up and go buy those boys water. I know what they're doing out there, and they're working hard. But I think we need to look at some of this stuff and look over it. This is ridiculous, and
Well, I think that's a very poor example for you to use, because we would never not do that. We would never not approve that. I mean, that sounds like the worst case scenario.
It
But
shouldn't have to be approved.
Yeah,
It
it's
should be a
not.
line item budget.
Exactly.
But what you need to put,
would be approved, but when those escapees escaped,
yeah, but I think
it
when
was
you
like
put,
pulling teeth.
2010, it was
It was crazy.
Maybe it's not so much the purchase, and this kind of dovetails off Jeff's presentation. Have you ever noticed to some degree, some of the biggest knockdown dragouts we have?
Over nothing.
Really over something,
Well,
really.
Over coffee and water, will make the headlines tomorrow, right?
Really insignificant. You see what I'm saying?
okay. But the school district went through this. Do y'all remember how they made headlines? Claire wasn't writing them, but they were furnishing bottled water and they were having financial troubles, and it turned out it was over $20,000 a year they were putting bottled water.
I'm probably
But
not talking $25 or
okay.
$30 in a year.
Jill, what gets everybody is you might have a good reason for doing it. You have children. Well, you let Johnny do that. Why can't I do that? Well, there may have been a good reason. Not everybody has good reason, but I would think in the cases where you all are talking about, you write on that ticket what that was for. I don't see that as being a problem. They might call over and ask about
We
it.
do that now, it does happen.
And
It gets-
that explains a whole lot. But when it just comes in out of nowhere without any explanation on it, then it's a little hard
Which
to
is not
follow.
the case on the coffee pot. It says for victims and witnesses, it should have been on the consent agenda, Judge, and not on the general agenda.
Well, that's not where we worked from before, Ms. Shelton, and I decided where things go on the agenda, and that's where I wanted it.
And that's where the frustration comes.
Well, then the frustration needs to be dealt with so it doesn't have to be that way. But it's not one that should have just been glossed over. I agree. I'd rather we didn't have to do that. But I'm
The
just
receipt
going
was
by what's...
provided, and you said, I don't know whether it's for coffee, I don't know if it's for the pot, I don't know what it's for. You have the receipt and saw that it was just the pot.
I said it was for the pot, but I said, when does it include the coffee? When does it include donuts? When
It
does
should
it
include the coffee, it should include the sugar, it should include the creamer.
Okay.
You know, for the witnesses and the victims' families. But I'm not asking for that. It's
Okay.
a one-time purchase of the coffee pot.
Well, it's approved.
I have to look around and try to add up in my head $30,000 she paid on the equipment at the gun range. The Glocks she bought everybody, can't remember how much that cost. Every time we turn around, she's writing a check for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. The people of this county elected her to represent that office. Whenever her constituents get mad enough about her buying coffee for witnesses, then they can vote her out. I don't think that'll ever happen. That's silly to even be talking about.
Okay.
We'll come back with a policy or tradition that says the department head has a threshold at an expenditure of $100 or less for something that's kind of off the wall in extreme circumstances. But that's the deal. It's not so much the purchase and the circumstances. It's how, like Maureen said, it's how it gets in here and it plays. It's like chewing a piece of bristle. The more you chew it, the bigger it gets. It's not so much sometimes the expense. It's all what I call a drama on the back end of it.
Willie calls it busy work. We create all this busy work for us so that we can just have lots to do.
Well, okay. Anyone else in the audience? Okay.
I just wondered that, because
Yeah.
sometimes there's just things that come up that you gotta have, you know?
And that's, toward the water downstairs, and we don't have a water fountain. And actually, there were about 5 people that were going in and pitched in to buy a bottle of water. But then all the employees started coming and drinking everybody's water, and they weren't pitched into it, so they had to stop doing it, because some people thought that the county provided the water, and the county doesn't provide water down there. I'm not talking about individual water bottle, I'm talking about the big water that was delivered. And so they got the point, put a game camera up to see who was last. Just coming in there and getting all the water out of it. Sure enough, we found about 3 or 4 deputies, big old mugs, you know, they come fill them up first shift, hit the street.
I thought we put water the county pays for inside records. At one time we did because there wasn't any water available. Who did that?
It got pulled, I don't know.
I don't think it was by the court doing that. I think
They pack their own water
even use water
coolers and everything to come in with everything.
I'm just
I don't think
concerned
they put
about
them in the building.
You've got an approved water supply. Jesus.
No. Okay, something we've done here, because we furnish water for people, we have coffee. We do have a deal, we run the tap water through one of those little pitcher deals, and I can't tell the difference in taste, but some people think it's better, but, you know.
If it goes through a filter, this 1916 plumbing, this building, it needs to be filtered.
It's been flushed out for 75 years, and only been clean.
We had poop water going through it for a while, I didn't get that.
Which was cleaner than the
Okay.
water before.
Do you think, let me ask the Commissioner Court, do you think in some shape, form, or fashion, Jeff, that we'll be able to move forward in some shape with Maureen's and maybe mine in 2018?
Yes.
Yes,
Tommy,
Mine actually works a little better. Mine works a little better, Judge, on the back end of tax season.
Yes,
See what I'm saying?
yes,
Yeah.
and Maureen nailed it on the head. We never dreamed we'd still be having to, we thought we were able to kind of understand where we were at back up in the spring of the year, and we didn't think we'd be here. Matt was the one saying couldn't get the interest, and everybody'd asked him to hold off, and now we find ourselves kind of still in the same dilemma, but we really thought we'd be dissecting yours to pieces by now, and it's just the hold up here. So
We also thought it'd be 75 to 100,000, and then that just kept creeping. I didn't know the creep was going to go, wow, but that was a lot of creep. Okay, anyone else? Thank y'all for your input. Commissioner Beecham.
I have nothing.
Nothing.
Commissioner Waller?
Good conference last week, Judge, and interestingly enough, I think the really best sessions were anything Jim Allison had to do with, and enjoyed the legislative panel, and actually the final morning, when that was the smallest crowd, and I think those were the best sessions. There was a lot of good discussion, and it's just something to keep in mind, but all in all, a good meeting. You always get a chance to talk to other people, and it's amazing how many commissioners out there in Texas are facing the same things we are. And some of them are at 80 cents. So it makes you feel good.
And what
Commissioner Watts?
Well, what Commissioner Mueller said, Judge, and I'd like you to make that suggestion at the appropriate time. We had talked about how nifty it would be to have maybe several department heads from a given county or assortment of counties, but to field questions on how they do things so that we have particular issues that we're knowing hot buttons for us or thoughts about us to field off of and have that knowledgeable person from the county answer those questions and give us more ideals or thoughts and spend the whole class period nearly just a question and answer.
Sort of like the purchasing people. Yeah.
Yes.
Have a round table.
Did you all put that on your evaluations?
Yeah.
I'll put it on mine.
Okay, put it on.
But I marked those sessions on the highest end
Yeah.
evaluation because they are the most interesting.
But
Another
really
thing is getting that
strong.
ICS training is to be credited toward our hours.
Well, that was discussed in the education committee.
Hope we can get that done.
And they're going to work on seeing if they can get A&M to partner with that and to do that through TEAPS.
And, you know, one of the things that I didn't know to do, Judge, until Lee brought it up is we could ask the girls at the front, they gave us the courses needed, you know, the ones that we're missing on our, what's that test called? Advanced curriculum.
You get a letter from them.
Yeah, but it's in the fall of the year, but I don't remember, like, I haven't received one yet, and I just wondered, you know, which one of these are more qualified, or if you have to pick between two, because a lot of times a number 2 class is something I'd want to go see, but I'd already had it on my list, and I really needed the number 3 class or 4 level class.
Okay. Well, you get a transcript each year about this time that tells you what you've taken and what you need, and it's got the blanks. But yeah,
that's good.
But we've also talked in there about trying to get those arranged in a more of an order. So you can look and say, I can start now, and in 4 years I've got this finished.
Right.
And we haven't done a good job of that.
But I thought all the classes were strong about,
Very good.
you know, they just had good information and knowledgeable people in them, so that was very good. Want to note the homecoming for Iowa Park was Saturday. It was a great time and lots of people in, a little rainy on football, but Iowa Park was successful. And then festivities existed all weekend long, and that turned out to be pretty weather, so that was great. Kidfish coming up October the 14th. If you've got kiddos, bring them out there. It's all free of charge, and hot dogs and cokes are furnished. And Texas Parks and Wildlife is there along with the city, and we'll stock fish the week prior, or about 3 days prior to that. And it's a great time, so keep that in mind.
To back up, National Night Out is tomorrow night, Jordan.
Yeah.
Neighborhood Watch, Citizens Academy will be holding down in KMA for that, so.
Also, Wednesday is the Idea Wichita Falls Luncheon. You can go on to ideawf.com and make a reservation. The city council is all out of town, so they were hoping we'd have some county folks show up for that. I finally got that second best title now in the organization as past president. They did give me a nice plaque on the wall. Commissioner Harvey, you turned in your name tag, then you left and didn't stay for lunch.
Right.
You lost $300.
Oh,
your
man!
Name. You had to be present to win.
What was the name tag? What were you
They
supposed
asked
to
me
do?
for my name tag when we got out of the class. She said, "Can I have your name tag?" I said, "Sure." I handed that lady.
For the drawing.
Yeah.
Nobody asked me for mine.
She wanted it.
You know, if you'd ever stay for those luncheons, you'd know those things.
I told
It
you.
was a long way home.
Yeah, but it made a better story telling the sheriff, huh?
Wow.
No, I gave
Wow.
it to somebody else got it. You had
Oh,
to be
you
present to
didn't
win. No,
Okay.
you had to be present to win. But I thought that was funny because Chris said to me, she said, "Watch out, you'll draw a lady's name tag out there." And I'll be dang when we got down to the last door prize.
Oh, gosh.
So I kept,
Gone.
So that's both Barry and Lee missed out.
I missed 50.
He missed it by 5 minutes.
I was finishing up and getting my shoes shined, and I walked in there just after they pulled it. They'd already done it.
That pie at the Blue Bonnet was certainly worth $300.
It really was.
okay.
We did stop in Marble Falls.
I
We
did.
all did partake in some Blue Bonnet pie.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, it's 11:42 and we're adjourned.